thing we should start with is how you feeling, E?
So I got my second results back are negative. I'm feeling better,
Good.
but I'm still, we haven't gotten the results for everybody else in the home, at least my girl and her grandma. And so waiting on those, and then I'm gonna take a second test just to be sure, because people around me are getting a bunch of like positive, then negative, then positive, then negative.
So wait, you got a second result in that showed negative?
Yeah, I didn't send. I thought I sent it to you guys.
No, bro, you don't care about us no more.
I'm mass emailing that shit just to let everybody know, yo, I'm clean, son. I'm clean. I found a home test. I don't know if I told you guys. I found this company that actually they do all kinds of testing, and I guess they've now included COVID.
Right.
And it's a home test. They send it to you. You have the option to like expedite the shipment to yourself, and then when they send you an overnight label, and they promise the results in 72 hours of them receiving it.
Did it tell you like accuracy rate? Like, did they market how accurate they are?
I don't know, bro, honestly, but it just seemed like the company, I looked it over, I looked at the site, it just seemed like super legit. They've been in the space of like kind of like self-testing for what you call it, allergies, thyroid, that type of stuff, and so I guess recently they got into the COVID stuff, and then the test, the way it went down was basically the same way I did it at CVS. It was just, instead of a person in a window telling me what to do, it was like a video and like instruction manual, which is pretty basic on how to test yourself. This one now, you don't have to go as far back into your nose. And that's what's happening in some of the testing sites, because my friends are going to some of these other testing sites and they're not going as far back into the nostril.
Isn't that supposed to be like the wrong way to test? I know you're saying this test in particular is probably different, but like the normal test. They say if you don't feel it tickle your brain, basically, I think is what they say, you're not doing it right.
I think what it is that the labs have evolved to be able to find traces with less
penetration.
Maybe?
That's what you want to say?
Yeah. Like maybe like the fucking gunk you have up here close up is the same gunk you have back there. So right. I don't know. Whatever, bro.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get a second test just to be sure, but I feel a lot better. I still have lingering stuff, but I feel like it's all mental more than anything. Just the idea of like, oh, I got COVID.
Right.
So I'm good, and the family's good. Everybody's good. The grandma got tested. We're waiting. My girl, like I said. So yeah, just waiting to get that second confirmation before I'm like visiting my mom and confidently going out and about and working again and doing stuff.
So when you were at home, or when you've been at home, have you been masked up or any of that kind of stuff? Or
no. I've been, now, mind you, I'm not gonna even front. Like there's times where you just like you're loose with it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I would say 85% of the time in the home, I'm wearing a mask. Her grandma, we keep her away from me and most of the family. Which she has early onsets of dementia, so she forgets every hour. Like she starts to come back to us, and we're like, "Yo, get out of here!" She's like, "Why?" Like it's every hour we're re-explaining the situation. So that we've been keeping her a bit, away, and then I've stayed away at least 95% from the baby. I try not to carry the baby because I read, elderly and babies, infants, are susceptible because of their immune system being vulnerable. And so I've been more hands-on with my daughter just because we don't have any other choice. Like I have, I tell people and they're like, "Oh, you've been in your room and you haven't come out," right? I'm like, that's not realistic in my home.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So, and I'm testing my daughter just to be sure as well that she's not just an asymptomatic carrier when she visits my mom or being around her grandma.
With that new test? The one that you mailed away for?
Yeah, the new test, because it's not as invasive.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's what we've been doing. Hand sanitizer at every turn in the house, washing hands as much as possible. So, yeah, that's what we've been up to.
Well,
but I mentioned, and really quick, just for everybody out there, it's crazy because good friend of mine, and I don't want to mention people's names because I don't know if they're known like that for having COVID, but a good friend of mine, he's tested positive. Then that test took too long, so he took another test. Then the other test came back negative. But then he got the positive, and then he got another positive, and then he got a negative, and now he got a positive again.
Jeez. But I mean, is he showing symptoms? Like
he had symptoms and he feels better. He also sent me an article because he's like pissed, and he's going to different testing sites. And my other friend is pissed because he's had it for like 2 months, and he had mostly all positives, but in the middle of all that, he had one negative.
Weird.
So my friend sent me an article that said that dead COVID cells give false positives.
I could see that.
So you could have had it at some point and it's gone, but the dead cells in your body will give a false positive. But it seems weird because it seems like there's more positives than negatives. But I don't know. Whatever.
The binga.
Yeah.
Okay. So I told you guys that my power went out because of Isaias this past week.
Isaias is Dominican, right?
Definitely. The way he fucked up shit, yeah. He's Dominican. But it was wild, man. Like and you were saying this in the text. You were like, you expected this shit to fuck y'all up in Miami.
Yeah, we were ready, yeah.
And I don't know if it did anything to you guys, but it didn't seem like it.
It sideswiped us. It didn't hit us. We had some rain, and that's about it.
So for us, and I think it was pretty much like I saw pictures of Philly. Philly was like underwater.
That was crazy looking.
Yeah.
I never saw Philly like that before.
That's just nuts. So it hit us. But the wild thing is like the storm was, and I guess it doesn't matter. The storm is a storm, but like it was like maybe for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes was like the tough part of it, right? Like the high gusts of wind. Rain wasn't even crazy. Like it was really just wind. And then all of a sudden power goes out and we're down for like till Friday. So yesterday basically. And it was wild. Like it was crazy. And we're like, yo, what the fuck? So what was cool about it, like I guess if you have to pick a silver lining, us as a family, I think we got stronger through all of that. It was really cool for us to see how our kids, all of them, all three of them, really showed how well they follow instructions, but also how trusting they are of what we're telling them, right? Because a lot of times we don't feel like what we say resonates. Like sometimes it'll be like talking to a wall, you know what I mean?
Right.
But in this scenario, like all the bullshit kind of got put to the side and they were focused. They weren't afraid because we were preparing them. Like we said, look, we might, because you saw the forecast. We might have some high winds. The power might go out. Like we have to be prepared. And so as soon as it hit, like it was like, all right, right into action. Like everybody was like, okay, calm down. Let's go over here. We're not going to have AC.
It hit as a tropical storm or a hurricane?
Yeah, tropical storm.
Okay.
I think the highest peak of wind, if I'm not mistaken, was like 45 miles per hour. So it wasn't like, that's tough, but it wasn't
get that
like
shit every day, son.
Right, exactly. That's Miami on a Tuesday. But it was dope, man. Like the resilience, like we were eating dinner outside, like our neighborhood, we were all trying to like figure, be creative with each other, like how to work through that, plus avoid each other from COVID. One of our neighbors bought a generator out of the blue and like we were plugging in devices and also like it was a really interesting moment for us and our neighborhood. So I'm kind of thankful in a way because like it taught us a lot about our kids and how well they cooperate and work together to make shit okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when being that down here it happens often and we lose power often. When you get power back, you're so like humbled and grateful, and like it doesn't last as long as it should, but you definitely are very appreciative, and you kind of like come away from it like a better person.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, go to the club and then forget about it.
One night at Live and it's a wrap. Right. But yeah, that was cool.
I think I don't know if I had told you. So how long did it take for the power to get restored?
It was 3 days, 3 full days.
I don't know if I told you guys, but they warned us, and this is friends telling me that kind of work in the industry, that because of COVID, usually when a storm is approaching anywhere, any city or whatever, the state will, state of emergency, and then the other states around it activate and send utilities people to help.
Right.
And they said that because of COVID, that was not going to happen, and to expect. And I even got an email from FPL to expect way longer restoration time, for it to be restored.
I didn't know you considered me an industry friend, but I appreciate you shouting me out.
It was you that sent it to me?
Yeah, bro.
No,
it was
I got
me.
it from two people.
I see, yo, you didn't see K? K was like, he was like winding up, like, oh, that was Manny.
No, but a second person that works for FPL hit me about it.
They don't know like me, bro. I got the inn over there. I don't live there, but I got the FPL on Smash.
Yeah, so okay, no. So
Manny has the insider FPL.
It was your brother-in-law, right?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I had a friend that works for FPL in Fort Myers that told me about it also. So both of you guys.
I was just waiting. I was waiting for when Manny was gonna jump.
So you were the first one, though. Actually, you were.
You did. You had. I wish people could see K's react. K was like a boxer, like ready to go into the fight. No, but that's real. Like, and that's crazy because I mean, especially Florida. Like, you guys,
right.
when shit happens, unfortunately, you guys get a bunch of the impact,
Right?
And then those surrounding states
down south. We're south, so they have to send. If they're coming from Georgia, they got to drive all the way down here. But they're not doing none of that shit because of COVID situation. So.
Yeah, everybody's kind of on their own. It's fucked up.
All right, well, thanks for that information, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, bro. I got you.
I'll make sure to forget the next thing you tell me too.
Well, whatever I tell you is going to be documented from here on out. We're recording everything.
Well, it is. You texted it anyways. Kay was about to be your lawyer right now. Exhibit A.
Thanks, Kay.
Talking about you, Manny. Sorry,
I was going to say I was going to intro the next
segment,
combative piece here.
Go ahead.
This time it's E versus Manny.
Ding ding. No, it's not me versus Manny.
No, I'm just fucking with you.
I'm just in amazement of how much shit he does. But so I realize your children are older.
Yeah.
So that's obviously
huge help.
I would imagine a huge difference because your kids are a little bit more self-sufficient. You don't have to watch over them and make sure they don't put chalk in their mouth.
Right.
But still, like, it still amazes me how much shit you get done because of the lack of shit that I get done right now. And then I also remembered, this is the thing. I'm gonna shift to combating with Kay. I swear that Kay is so full of it with us on this podcast sometimes, with how smooth he thinks he kind of acts that the young years were for him or the baby years.
No, I never said it was smooth.
He's just a mellow cat.
No. Smooth. The only thing I could think of in terms of smoothness would be the potty training stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not without its issues, but I mean, it was fairly smooth, right? And then like the Terrible 2 stuff, we never had like major issues of him wilding out outside a restaurant, any of that kind of stuff. That was pretty smooth. But I mean, as far as
that's like everything,
not really. I mean, those are just two things. But I mean, you remember, like, definitely the first year I was
that's
zombie mode.
Say. Yeah,
and definitely fell off the face of the earth for a little while. Removed myself from a lot of stuff just because I couldn't keep up.
Couldn't deal.
Yeah.
So the audience that's listening understands. I'm frustrated when Manny sends a million links and then he makes fun of me because he says I don't read or listen to things. I have ADD or I'm impatient. So he's like, there's no clip.
Which is still true. Which is still true.
100% true. 100% true. So I get frustrated when you send like 3 or 4 links. I'm like, where the fuck do you have the time to research, develop, manufacture, come up with all these things, record another podcast, do all this crap? Like, what the fuck, bro? I don't get it, bro. I don't have time to fucking barely have a sandwich and take a shit. And you here with fucking 3 different categories of things you're researching and sending to us.
It's not easy, right? Like I know you get frustrated, and it's and I'm not claiming that I'm really good at this, but this is what I strive to do is like maximize the time that I have when I'm focused on work, right? So I've allotted, and this is not just me saying in my my house, I'm like, yo, from this time to this time, leave me the fuck alone. Like, don't talk this. It's not that kind of party. It's like, all right, I know my kids have certain needs. I know my wife has certain needs, and I try to balance that with my work day. Right. And so I've got my, call it 9 to 5, which is really like 8:30 to 6:30. And that consumes a big chunk of my day. But then before and after, there's also time that I allot to like podcasting, as an example, right? I do some other stuff, but the podcasts, my daily job, those kind of take up a big chunk of my day. So the negotiation really with my wife and my kids is like, yo, look, through 8:30 to 6:30 is really difficult for me to engage with you guys on much. The fact that we're at home now and everybody pretty much is working from home makes it a little easier because it's a lot more understanding. So I make sure that excuse me, before everybody wakes up in my house, I sacrifice basically go to sleep earlier, get up earlier, so I can have a chunk in the morning to get my mind right, get a few things out of the way. When my wife and kids are up, that's when usually I'm at my, quote unquote day job. So what I do there is I make sure as soon as they come up, like I engage with them, periodically. So I'll take 15 minutes and I'll go and I'll bug out with them for a little bit. And that eases a little bit of the stress that my wife might feel when all of them are kind of coming at her at the same time. Again, my kids are older, so they're a lot more self-sufficient than your two are right now, E. Right. So it's hard to compare, but this is kind of how we approach it. And then
you probably also have the oldest one. I mean, does she interact much with the younger ones, or does she kind of like leading the charge with them? Like when your wife is unavailable, is she like stepping into that role of like, I guess, them kind of following her lead?
She's willing to jump in when it's necessary, but she's 13, so she's really kind of in her own corner doing her TikTok shit. Right. But she's not opposed, right? Like she knows like when my wife has had it up to here and I'm completely unavailable, she's like
if you next. If you make the ask,
she'll jump in.
She'll help.
Yeah. So for us, it's like, for instance, we got this thing now, right? Since COVID hit, my wife has been taking my daughter, my youngest daughter, there's like a moment in the morning where they do like what they call circle time, right? So there's this lady who has a YouTube channel and they put on a video every day. She has a new video and it's like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of like stuff that a 4-year-old will engage with. And a part of that, there's a song. So it's like the lady kind of wakes up the class, so to speak, with this song. It's called the Good Morning Train, right? And so we took that song and that's what we used to wake up the other two if they don't wake up by 10 o'clock in the morning every day. Because we're like, yo, fuck that. You want to go to sleep at 4 in the morning? That's on you. But ain't nobody sleeping past 10 o'clock in this house because we can't function as a household. We're not going to be tiptoeing around. So I'll stop what I'm doing in my day. I'll go and then we'll do the Good Morning Train song and annoy the fuck out of everybody. And so like, it's those little kinds of moments that I am able to like get in and be dad for that moment that over the day, I have a few of those moments. It's like I'm still interacting with my kids. And surprisingly, it helps a ton for my wife. So there's moments too where it doesn't work, right? Like my wife is overwhelmed. I'm in a bind. I'm doing my own thing. At that time, usually 9 times out of 10, I figure out a way to just drop what the fuck I'm doing and race to the rescue to take over, assume dad responsibility. But the almighty savior in our relationship and me as a dad is the calendar. Like if it's not on our shared calendar as a family, it doesn't happen and we can't be held accountable to it. And we've been able to use that to manage everything. Like whether it be, yo, circle time, you need to be at circle time. It's at this time, which is, again, it's just on the TV. We're not going anywhere. But the fact that it's on the calendar, somebody's accountable for it, and we can move through our day pretty smoothly.
And this calendar pokes you in the stomach? Like what? It just fucking pops up in your email and that's enough?
Pops up, yeah. Pops up. and that's another thing too. Like when I'm actually working, like I need to focus, I have my phone on do not disturb, and all my alerts are off on my laptop or whatever. So only in that case on the iPhone, only emergencies can come through. So my wife, my mom, those will come through no matter what, or somebody that calls like 3 times in a row. And then I know, all right, this is urgent. But usually it's all good.
Don't lie, bro. You be on fans only.
I don't even know what that is.
So when you wake up early to do your thing, no one tries to wake up and join with you or any of that kind of stuff, or are you off on your own and
it's so
getting stuff done?
My 4-year-old is a relatively light sleeper. So when she wakes up early, it fucks everybody up. So I wake up just early enough where she's still deep enough in sleep that me coming down the stairs doesn't wake her up. So no, generally speaking, I'm always by myself. So I go take my walk, have my coffee, and start my day.
With all jokes aside, I did take some of the stuff you said, and I'm like, okay, I want to actually try and apply it, because I think shout out to Chuck Dizzle. I did his dad advice thing.
Oh, cool.
Word, yeah.
You guys saw
that was dope.
And my thing was the basic thing that I said was that you better understand that life is never going to be the same as it was before you had kids. And I'm still struggling with that, because even though obviously I'm very hands-on with my kids, I'm still fighting, trying to like have some kind of,
some of your old life
resemblance of things that help me decompress or whatever, or certain schedules, so, and it's just not working. And what's happening is I'm having these windows that keep getting smaller and smaller, and I try to cram things into that window, and it's just not working out. So when you said basically that you wake up early, which that's not my thing, but
it wasn't mine either.
Yeah, you're able to, obviously do things. It made me think, well, that makes sense, because when my daughter goes to sleep, that's when I try to cram everything in. But you kind of like when my daughter goes to sleep, because the baby's not sleeping well yet, but when my daughter goes to sleep, the whole house gets a lot calmer. You feel like free, like, okay, now I could start to do some things. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I think I'm gonna have to try that, because I need to have some time, whether it's just to like take a walk, like you said, and listen to some shit, some podcasts or some news, or research something as I walk, decompress, get a little exercise in, something separate away from the house, if anything, or get in the office and work, and then take that opportunity that nobody's awake. So I'm definitely going to try that. And I thank you for that, even though it's not anything out of this world new, but it's the fact that someone I know does it and it helps them and it works for you is a huge help for me to actually try it.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome, bro. That's what we're here for.
And Kay, what are you doing? Like, what are your methods to try to get things in there?
Buddhism.
I wish.
Floats in the air.
Yeah.
Since he floats above the family, he can watch them while working, and they don't know that he's there. Really.
Every time that were the case.
Every time I think of K, I think of Zen. Like, I don't know what the literal definition of Zen is, but that's what I picture it to be.
Yeah, I definitely fell off my meditation flow.
Oh shit, the world's ending.
Yeah.
So you actually were meditating?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is it because of COVID and all the changes recently that kind of knocked you off?
I think it was actually once my son was born. It just because up until for years I've had kind of an on and off, like I get into a flow, and maybe it's not a super long meditation. Maybe it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, but at least it was something to.
That's long. 5 minutes is like eternity for me.
And when my wife was pregnant, then during the whole pregnancy, I was really in the zone of every day. Because I put a lot of prayer into it as well. One part of it was just, using that as prayer time to make sure that my wife stayed healthy, my son was going to be healthy, all that kind of stuff. And then once my son was born, then basically my whole time schedule, just everything was all kind of thrown out the window. And then I've basically struggled from then until now to like reincorporate those kind of times of like carving out. And I think I probably have to do it in like what Stick, when we had him on the show, where he was talking about having his son do it with him and kind of incorporating it as a family thing. I think that's probably what I have more of, like what I have to look at to reincorporate that stuff. I mean, we you know, we're in a fairly small, our home is fairly small, and I mean, it's just 3 of us, but it's not like, you know, we're, especially now, I mean, we're around each other all the time. So, you know, trying to like carve out, all right, 5-10 minutes to do a quiet meditation, it only makes sense for all of us to do it, or, you know, some of us to do it. And we know that that's kind of a scheduled time.
And you feel he's at an age that he'll do the 10 minutes?
I'd probably do it at a 5-minute. I mean, he's done it before. I mean, he'll when we've taken him to do, he's not, it's not like a unknown thing to him.
It's not foreign to him.
Yeah. So he's aware of it, and he can do it. And I mean, the thing with meditation, it's especially if you haven't done it in a while, or if you're trying to want to do it, it's not to make it hard for yourself. You know, even if it's just setting a timer on your phone for 1 minute or 2 minutes, and at least you've kind of accomplished that, and then you can build up from there. So I think the mistake that a lot of people make is you set your expectation too high. You think like, oh man, I should be able to sit for 5 minutes, and then you see how hard that is to calm your mind down. And then you're like, fuck this, you know, I'm not doing this shit again. You know, and you're done.
You sure you weren't here? Because that's exactly how it went down for me. I was like, fuck this.
But I mean, I say all that to say that as far as like a kind of a daily flow, or a flow of trying to get things done, we really don't have kind of a set mode at this point. I mean, we all fairly wake up pretty early. So our morning times are together, and generally it's, you know, even if we're kind of doing separate things, maybe one of us is making breakfast, someone else is doing something, you know, that kind of thing, but we're all moving around the same time. So day's pretty fluid. I mean, you know, I've got 9 to 5 work as well, but that, I think, to Manny's point, like I will make time to shift into dad mode and take breaks and do different things depending on what the day requires. You know, my wife has work to do as well, so we, you know, hers is a bit more flexible in terms of when she can do it. So she might take the night shift of doing her work, getting her work done once he's asleep, that kind of stuff. But still, for me, trying to be mindful of, all right, let me come in here now and take some time, that kind of thing. And also sometimes he's just like, when we both have things that we have to do, and especially now because of COVID and being home, it's just going to be, there's times where he has to then figure out what he's going to do on his own. And sometimes that's watching a show, and you know, that's all that's kind of available, or if that's the vibe. And other times it's going to be, you know, you got all these different toys and activities and all that kind of stuff here, so go figure something out.
Figure it out.
Go put your, you know, and he'll get off into his zone, and he'll pull out his magnets and his Matchbox cars and action figures, and he'll start building things and just get into it. And actually, I really enjoy hearing that in the background. Like when I hear and see, you know, he just gets into this world of, like, he's got something going on, and he'll all of a sudden, you know, an hour and a half goes by, and he's just been in the mix. So when I see him doing that kind of stuff, then I'll let him know, like, look, I'm proud of you for being able to shift in and do your own thing. And that's So I think when he's able to do that kind of stuff, that helps us out with getting work done, getting all, different things done. So we don't really have a carved out time on things. We did have a more kind of carved out schedule when he was at school and things were, the way they used to be, but it's pretty free flowing right now, but definitely get what we need done.
How are you?
And thankfully my wife, has a lot more flexibility to make sure that like the things that he needs, like going outside and all that kind of stuff, she's able to facilitate that. So
I was gonna say for me, like, I gave you how I participate and how I manage my time and all that, but the real champ in my house is my wife, hands down, because so long as our communication is clear, I set clear expectations with her and the kids, I have pretty much free reign. But there's many times where shit pops up that I actually have to weigh it out. So I got to be like, all right, what is the value of this thing that I now is on my plate to potentially do versus the reward and or the impact to my family? And then I got to consider, all right, is it worth me having a conversation with my wife about why I need to be doing this and taking away time from whatever other thing I'm supposed to be doing family wise? Right. And then that's not that it's going to be a battle with her, but I kind of pre-filter whatever it is before I even consider engaging with her about it, and then optimizing our schedule accordingly, because it's every little moment really matters. And so she's really understanding, and she said this to me a bunch of times, which I mean, I don't want to kind of convert this into like a relationship episode necessarily, but like what I do, I do it intentionally because this is how I am normally, not intentionally because of her. Right. So for instance, everything I do consider my family. I consider her, but it's not uncomfortable for me to do. Like, it's just organically who I am and how I operate. And so she always says to me, like, it's the way you handle yourself and set expectations and all that shit is perfect because it works perfectly for me. Like, I understand it. And I know that what you're doing is for us first. Like, whatever it is, like this podcast benefits my family. And we're not talking monetarily because we don't make a fucking dime from this yet. But like the love,
I'm not gonna tell you about that check I got.
But like, us having these conversations, I know we all have said this throughout, but like the level of stress that we might feel coming into an episode reduces. We learn something usually, or just laughing amongst each other, like it does something to you. So there's residual benefit to my household because of that. So like she sees that and feels that. So she's like, yo, there's always a net positive to where you spend your time. So long as you're not fucking around doing stupid shit that's going to hurt our family, she's all for it. So it's really that communication really above everything else, and her effort is why I can do what I do.
To like, for someone that's out there listening that has young children or infants, is it safe to say that the early stages of babies and toddlers is the roughest, you think?
I think it is, in different levels, right? Because I think there's the I guess the basic unknown of like how to deal with infants and toddlers and babies, right? There's just that it's a different kind of stress than the things that we might know about or fear for our kids when they're older. Like, we can kind of talk through those things with them, whereas you might be more physically tired and physically kind of at wit's end when they're younger, because there is no, like, the schedule's not there. I think when you don't have your schedule, or at least for those that kind of thrive a little bit off of having some kind of normalcy or some kind of schedule with your day, that can throw you off and make you feel even more kind of out there. But when they're older, and maybe when life feels a bit more kind of normalized, you still have tough things to worry about, like, lying, whatever, all the things that come with the different ages and all that stuff. I think like kind of mentally and physically, generally speaking, when they're a little bit older, it feels a little easier to at least think about how you're going to dive in and deal with the issues than when you're
right. And the fact that basically the infants are like on life support connected to the adults.
Right.
But the thing that I'm trying to get at too, like for the parents is because like myself and my girl, we often find ourselves saying like, well, obviously for ages people have had kids and had multiple kids. Like, how the fuck did they do it? How did this successful person do it? How did this, and we're constantly like in this search or battle of like, well, how did they do it?
To understand the who got the cheat sheet.
Right. And and you'll be like, whoa, they're rich and they had help, or they have a huge family and the family helps, or they don't give a fuck. Like there's all these different variables. And one of the things that I'm starting to figure out is that maybe you have to come to terms with the fact that when you have small children, you're a new parent and you got small children, that you're probably like your career and your business are probably going to suffer. Is that safe to say?
I think that is accurate, but there's also, and again, I go back to this word like optimization, right? Like there's stuff that needs to, excuse me, fall off the plate, and those are going to be sacrificed. And it's just a matter of figuring out which ones are worth sacrificing. It's going to make an impact no matter how. So generally what you're saying is accurate. But if you, and I don't say this like I figured it out, but there's got to be some sort of balance. Obviously, if you've got 5 things you're doing and one of them is producing for you and the other 4 aren't, maybe those 4 are deprioritized. Maybe not thrown off completely, but like a lot less time dedicated to them. So
things you did for like leisure time, whether it's hanging out with people, reading, video, whatever, all that other kind of stuff that we might have done pre-kids. Then you get forced with the time crunch, and you're like, all right, some of this stuff is gonna go away for a while.
But then I guess it's like, and I'm all over the place with this, but so I'm thinking like, let's just say we're looking back at I don't know, man. Think of some fucking great artist that we all admire, the genius of this person, and then their life story is that they were just totally immersed in their art world, and their crazy life is what spurred this art that's now world renowned, and the person, whatever, it sells for millions and millions, but that person's family's life suffered.
That's right. That was the sacrifice. He wanted that more.
So it really comes down to the individual, like what is where your priority is, and what do you give the main focus to? I think and that just changes person by person depending on.
No, each person's going to be different, and also just the fear of and again, it all depends on the career that you have or the type of stuff that you do. Obviously, I tell my girl all the time, a person with a 9 to 5, it might be easier to deal with because that person is just like a structure. It's like there's no way around it. That person goes to work, and they come home, and then you got to work everything around that schedule, and that's how the bills get paid.
Yep.
When you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, you're in the arts, that's where it gets tricky. And so and when you're constantly looking for new things to do and reinvent and this and that, like but then you start to say to yourself, well, if this is the way that you bring in an income, and then it suffers because of family, because of course family is first.
Mm-hmm.
But then family suffers because the income suffers. So it's like it's a cycle that's kind of difficult.
Yeah,
I think what's been helping me, and it's more, I guess, kind of in this COVID world here. Yeah. And maybe this is helpful to you, and maybe you already think this way. But I guess
I'm asking for a friend.
Huh? I think almost it's an easy way to say it, day by day, right? And so it's like I may have kind of long-term visions, or I might think long-term about I want life to be like X, Y, and Z, and then in order to achieve that, then there's going to be these short-term kind of things that I feel like I need to get accomplished and do. And so all that stuff is great because you have to kind of forecast and have a vision and everything. But at the same time, when things are fairly chaotic, so whether it's you've got newborn kids or young kids and it feels chaotic, or the current like life that we're living where everything feels chaotic and we don't know what's going to happen the next day. It's almost like I've had to just reel back in my head of okay, I can put placeholders here for things, even with some of the work that I do, like if it's like live event driven or any of that kind of stuff. I can forecast and put a placeholder for, yeah, all right, this thing's going to happen next year in January, whatever, and I'll just put that on the calendar. But I'm not going to revisit that thought. I'm just going to put a placeholder there and say, all right, at least for the sake of putting on a calendar and it's there. But at the end of the day, in order to just kind of keep sane, I'm really not thinking far ahead. I'm just like, all right, let me just get through this day, and then we'll take the next day for when it comes for what it is. And that, at least for me, that seems to be keeping me from thinking too far ahead of like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
But isn't part of parenting to think far ahead also?
Yeah, I think it does create like negative returns, if you will, if you're thinking too far ahead. Like this milestone shit that you're thinking about always, right? It's like, how are we going to pay for college, right? That's a big one. Or, milestone moments, marriage maybe for your kid, or like high school graduation, like these, or kindergarten graduation. Like, those are always going to be there. But the more you're creating more stress for yourself, the further out you go. So the way, and I think it ties nicely with what Kay is saying, the way I look at that and the way I try to operate is control simply what you can control, and what's out of your control, try not to think about. And I say try because it's not as easy as just saying, oh, fuck it, let me just close my eyes and it's not good. No, it's not that easy, but it is very beneficial because, again, the power went out, right? I rely 100%. Everything I do relies 100% on power and the internet, right? As far as like ways I've tried to make money, I had to completely just say no and not frustrate I couldn't control it. There was nothing I could do about it. So I said, all right, fuck it. What do I do now? Let's optimize the time and, be with the kids, make it as good an experience as I possibly can, because ultimately that's going to be better for all of us mentally, etc. And this will turn out to be a much better experience, life lesson type of situation down the road.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's a little complicated because I'm definitely from the mind frame of prepare for the worst but hope for the best, and that puts me, far ahead of time in a lot.
I'm not saying don't do that, but maybe carve a little bit out of time of that kind of thinking, still have some of that stuff happening, but then reel it back to a certain extent and say, all right, you're going to create those placeholders. You're going to create some of those thoughts, and you're still going to have some of that forward thinking, but also you're going to spend some time with this is what I'm dealing with right here, right now.
This is my reality.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I guess the reason why I even brought all this up, and this is for helping anybody that's listening, is that you might have to come to grips with the idea that, the first couple of years of having young kids, shit's just not going to be the same, and some things are not going to fall through the way you want. Like, you're not going to be in the same hustle that you were before. You're not going to be able to take advantage of things the way you used to before. And I feel like we all fall under the pressure of like societal pressures that say, hustle, by all means, hustle.
Right.
Like, who cares? I had 10 kids and I fucking, like that's not real.
Yeah.
And it could be one kid, it could be 5 kids. Everybody's different. And just having kids by itself is a lot of stress and pressure. And I just think that maybe people just need to understand, like, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Some days are gonna feel like a complete, wash because of it didn't go well with the kids, and you're making sure your family's good, and it's okay. And that's kind of like what I'm getting to, like that I've had to come to grips with, that maybe, and then and I think a lot about you, Kay. I really do. And I really think about that year that you were like a zombie, dude. You were gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then he came back. He's like, coming out of the dead. And he's here, guys. He's here with us.
I just knew. I was like, look, this is my reality. This is all new to me. This is my reality. We don't have any kind of major family support system, next door or anything like that. And I was tired, and it was all new. And I knew, like, okay, this is where my attention lies right now. And this is what I can handle. And this is what I can't handle. So I'm not going to put myself out there in situations that I know I'm just not ready to deal with at that point. And so going back to your hustle, the example like that might be true for some people. It's like, yo, I'm going to hustle and do this, and this, and I've got all these kids. But as you said before, maybe their family life sucks, and maybe they didn't spend any time with their kids. And again, it's like, what's our own priorities? And yeah, your priority, I know, is your kids and your family, and I know, but your work helps support that. But I feel like like you're in that zone of like knowing, like, okay, I might have to give a little here in order to have the priority that I want.
And if I had to give somebody advice, also, I would say, and this is directly having to do with why we did this podcast, is just, kind of like in hip hop, kind of like wearing the parent badge on your chest, and being proud of it, is, hey, if you're trying to do things and you're hustling and you're trying to get things done, and you realize, oh, now I'm a parent and it's not as easy, be honest with people, straight the fuck up. Like, people you work with, your partners in any endeavors you're doing, just be like, hey man, like, today I can't, I don't have a babysitter. Today I can't, I got to do this with my family. Today I can't.
Yeah. Or I'm out of it. I can't even can't deal with it.
I'm having a tough time today with the kids. Like, I would say, because I know that that's hard for people.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to seem like they're giving excuses, because it's tough.
I mean, especially in our culture and I'm using hip hop as that example here. Like, you come off looking soft, like that's what we're trained to avoid, trying to come off soft. So that kind of puts you in that mode.
But I think what we're doing here is and what other people are doing as well, is we're trying to reverse that, because the actual fact is, you're more hard. Pause. I paused only for Manny, because he's the only one that would take like, ooh.
Look, we have people that they appreciate that.
You're more of a real person, and you're more hard to be honest about those things, because the average person is scared and wants to hide and put a facade that they're too cool to be, dealing with a dirty diaper or having to babysit, and I think you're actually the cooler, more hardcore motherfucker if you can actually be honest about it and be like, nah, man, I got to take care of my kids, or I got to do this, or I got to do that with my family.
And you're gonna, if you are that parent that is able to be that way, be honest, right, and be outwardly honest, you gain so much from that, because just you saying what's bothering you, what's uncomfortable in that moment, why you can't do a certain thing because of the family situation, you'd be surprised how many times somebody might, add a little gem that you weren't even thinking about. That might be the super obvious shit that in that moment is when you can actually apply it to your life and it makes sense. And then you're like, oh shit. And that helps so much. And that's, back to what you were saying, E, the whole principle of our podcast is really having these conversations. Like, because, time and time again, man, us men think we have everything figured out. And that can't be further from the truth in a lot of circumstances. So we just have to really, like, be men, if we want to call ourselves that, right? And, like, have these honest discussions. Like, how we feel should be okay for us to share. But we bottle that shit up for whatever reason. And we probably, more often than not, we probably shouldn't.
And on a business note, if you're, if you're an artist or an entrepreneur and you do take this advice or you are already communicating these issues with people that you work with, and they don't appreciate it or work with you on it, then maybe you need to reevaluate who your business partners are and who are the people you're dealing with, because maybe it's just not right for you, especially not right for you with your family now.
And on that note, keeping it real, I gotta go.
Peace.